Well, it's finally time for a farewell season, Visions of Enmity in Diablo 3. After 10 long years and several seasons, this new seasonal theme will be the last one. And to those who don't know, Blizzard officially stated that all future seasons will recycle old content with seasonal themes. But this doesn't mean that Diablo 3 will not receive new updates. It just means that you will have a chance to replay previous seasonal themes if needed. Anyway, in this guide I will share with you what class to pick for an efficient start based on starter sets and recent class changes in the patch 2.7.6. After some PTR testings, patch notes, analysis and starter sets observations, I give you my personal list of the best classes to start this new and final season in Diablo 3. Please keep in mind that this video is not intended for endgame progression and it only covers the beginning of Season 29. The ranking list is also based on set performance itself and without any Paragon points distribution. You can also read my written version of this guide on my website, the link is in the description. So everything I mention here is my personal opinion and it may not be the same as yours. And if you have any ideas, thoughts or questions, please leave a comment below. And make sure to follow my channel for more Diablo content, reviews, edits and guides. Alright, let's get started. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Firzj here, welcome to my starter sets guide for the Season 29 Visions of Enmity. In this final farewell season, players will finally have a chance to start the game in a new solo self-found mode or simply SSF, which means that you won't be able to party with your friends, get boosted easily, plus there's no need to compete with bots in the leaderboards. Aside from that, the Paragon board has been changed and the level is now capped at 800, but the actual theme of this season are mysterious portals, aka diabolical fissures that may appear when you kill enemies. What's inside these portals, you may ask? Well, there are dozens of elites roaming around waiting to be slaughtered by player, and you do all that inside a series of several small zones that you've probably encountered during the campaign. In the end, you will be rewarded with a chest that contains loot and bounty materials. And that's pretty much everything, no game changers for your build like soul shards, ethereal or altar of rights, but just some random portals with loot. Honestly, I don't think it's a good idea to cap the Paragon level at 800 because you can literally reach that level within the first few days while casually farming level 800 Greater Rifts on any of your classes. This reworked Paragon system of course gives more flexibility to your build, but getting to 800 is not a big problem and there's not much reason to keep playing after that point, unless you're still finishing these seasonal chapters up to Guardian. Anyway, let's now talk about the starter sets for Season 29. Place number 7, Barbarian, Might of the Earth. Might of the Earth is not the weakest build on this list, but it's definitely the worst regarding playstyle, and it requires a lot of time to find all the required pieces to start dealing significant damage. If you are going to play with this set, prepare to press lots of skills and watch your buffs for most of the time. It's definitely strong for clearing large amounts of enemies, especially if you are going to play solo Greater Rifts. But aside of that, this piano build is very slow in regular rifts and bounties. You can charge or use leap to skip dance and walked areas, but it's still not enough to compete with other classes. To start dealing the actual damage, you will need to find several important items: Blade of the Tribes, Girdle of Giants, Braces of Destruction, Fury of the Vanished Peak, and probably Fjord Cutter. These items are for Seismic Slam. That's one of the many options you can use, and all these legendaries can ease your access to higher difficulties. And also don't forget to find the Bane of Mind ring to reduce incoming damage and loot socks for your mobility. Overall, this starter set is fun, but it can be tedious for some of the players to maintain all the buffs, and it requires a lot of time to find all the required legendaries to start dealing damage. If your main goal is to push high tier Grey Rifts, choose this starter set. If not, then moving on. Place number 6, Witch Doctor Jade Harvester. Jade is a very capable set which can instantly kill elites and bosses with his Soul Harvest ability, but in order to achieve this, Jade requires some important items: Shukrai's Mojo, Ring of Emptiness, Quetzalcoatl, the Furnace, Sacred Harvester, and Lacumba's Ornament. The core of this set is to stack Haunt and Locust Swarm on every single enemy. After that, your Soul Harvest ability will pretty much one-shot your enemies. But as you might have guessed, this significantly reduces his mobility, and the playstyle is not very user-friendly in general. It takes time to apply all these spells and you need to get close range to cast your Soul Harvest ability. If the target is still alive, you have to reapply all that until it's dead. For these reasons, Jade is not very efficient in the Nephilim Rifts or Bounties, but it's surely playable in the Greater Rifts where you have plenty of enemies and time to get to a high position on the leaderboard. If you still want to play this build and casually farm stuff, I'd recommend you to use Wormwood. It will automatically cast Locust Swarm to surrounding enemies and you'll need less time to kill them. Overall, this set can be really strong early on, especially against bosses and elites. As for the regular enemies, you'll need to pixel hunt a lot, debuff them and apply Soul Harvest if you manage to stay alive. Place number 5 is Necromancer Grace of Inarius. This starter set is much easier than the previous two combined. Inarius is pretty fast, deadly and tanky at the same time. There are plenty of variations for this set, but the Blood Nova spec can easily become your favorite in Greater Rifts, Rifts and Bounties. Once you find Blood-Tide Blade and Iron Rose, you can start dealing damage. For going extra, you'll need to find Funerary Peak, Crispin's Ring and the Matter of Channeling. The gameplay is also pretty straightforward. You simply stack your bone armor and the Swirling Tornado will make the enemies vulnerable to your other skills, which is Blood Nova. The Blood Nova variation requires you to cast Siphon Blood to proc both your weapon and offhand to deal the damage. And of course, since it's a close range build, we need Deity's Binding for our survival. As for mobility and farming rifts in general, Steward Greaves is the way to go. When you use Blood Rush, you will move extremely fast, and it also allows you to avoid dangerous situations or cut corners. What's more important is you don't have to press many skills or control your buffs. Simply stack your bone armor, curse enemies to proc the belt, and cast your primary ability, which then will auto-cast Blood Nova and kill enemies around you. This is pretty much everything you need to know. It is simple, fast, strong and reliable, but if you plan to push high tiers, consider switching to Rathma or Tragul later on, as these sets provide much higher damage while staying away from enemies. Place number 4, Wizard Firebird's Finery. Firebird is quite flexible build and it offers 7 pieces instead of 6 like most other starter sets listed here. If you're playing with this set, you can choose melee and attack enemies with spectral blades, or use the deadliest variation with meteors. There are several decent items that you'll need to find for this build: Smoldering Core, Grand Vizier, Mempo of Twilight and Nilfur's Boots. While this set can be squishy early on, especially without Halo of Carini, Firebird can melt your enemies pretty fast and you gain 80% damage reduction when you cast Disintegrate. Plus, this set reduces the cooldown for your teleport ability, which helps quite a lot to move fast, skip enemies and provide more toughness. I'd say that this set is very capable of doing Nephilim Rifts and Greater Rifts, but staying alive can be a problem on higher difficulty levels, so the safest way would be to craft 2 Guardian set pieces, which provide significant damage reduction for our wizard. Moving next, place number 3, Crusader, Thorns of Invoker. Invoker is a very spiky build that heavily relies on thorns on your gear. This is a super easy and fun build where enemies can be killed without doing anything, unless you are playing high tier Greater Rifts. It's a very tanky and strong build that can survive pretty much anything, especially if you are going to play solo mode. What's more important is that you don't have to hunt for damage rolls, base damage, crit chance, crit damage. Forget about these stats. Your friends are attack speed, cooldown reduction, and of course thorns. Speaking of the actual items, you definitely need to use Akiwa Kiras, Karat's Awakening, Echoing Fury, Omni Slash, Peak Sticker, simply because of extra rolls and attack speed, Captain Crimson craftable set, Endless Walk and Convention of Elements to maximize your thorns damage during physical rotation. Nothing else to add here. You can use your horse for extra mobility, hit enemies with bombardment and keep spamming slash till it's dead. Of course, Invoker is not very suitable for bounties or rifts because of his indirect damage, but it's very tanky and strong build that can easily survive, and you don't need many legendaries to use this starter set properly. Second place is Monk, Monkey King's Grab aka Sanvuko. Sanvuko is a pretty fast and reliable set that can do pretty much anything. Rifts, bounties, greater rifts, ubers, echoing nightmares, anything. Thanks to his Wave of Light ability that covers large areas and dashing strike with a combination of Ingeom. Plus Sanvuko opens many different playstyles. You can use Tempest Rush build, Wave of Light or Lashing Tail Kick. All these require many specific legendary items, but for the most efficient one you will need Kyoshiro's Blade, Vengeful Spirit, Pinto Sprite, Incense Torch, Cruda's Boots and Zokrin Gaze. That's quite a lot and it may take some time to make it work. And if you are struggling to maintain your Sweeping Wind ability, you can also use the belt called Kyoshiro's Soul. Aside from the amount of loot you have to find, this build is pretty straightforward. Your goal is to maintain Sweeping Wind stacks for an increased damage output, and Wave of Light or any other secondary ability will do the rest. Once you have all the items including Ingeom, you can breeze through greater rifts and find much more loot than other classes over the same period of time. And if you want to squeeze more damage and toughness, consider using Captain Crimson. And the final place number 1 is Demon Hunter Shadow's Mantle. Shadow's Mantle is possibly one of the strongest builds that you can use within the first few hours. It's extremely mobile and deadly, and you don't need many items to make things work. There are only 2 essential items for this set, Holy Point Shot and Carly's Point, which you can easily find if you roll yellow daggers and cube. As for defensive items, I recommend you to find Elusive Ring, Captain Crimson, Endless Walk and Akior's Kiras. These items will surely save your Demon Hunter even on Torment 16. And if you want extra mobility, here's one more item for you, Chain of Shadows, which removes both costs after using Impale. This set is also very straightforward. You can equip your dagger, cast Shadow Power and one-shot elites including bosses, but this may cause little problems. When you one-shot an enemy with Impale, you don't regain Hatred, which means that you have to raise your difficulty and as a result increase your toughness. Finding the balance early on can be hard, but if you can move fast and maintain Hatred, you can reach Torment 16 as soon as possible and destroy hard tier greater rifts. Overall, it is super easy to make this set work. Shadow Mantle deals an insane amount of damage even with terrible gear rolls, and you can move pretty fast for free as long as you have some Hatred. Now it is time to sum up all these sets. Here I have included this class tape which compares classes performance. 1 plus represents the possibility to run a certain activity, and 3 pluses mean that it's a strongly capable class. Since Season 29 doesn't include any game changers like soul shards, I believe this table will still be up to date during the actual season, and the meta play is going to be the same as in the Season 28 with 2 wizards and 2 supports, Z-Barb and ZDH. And that is all I wanted to share with you. What class are you going to play in the final Season 29? Share your opinions in the comments below. I hope you liked this video and the information was useful. Please consider subscribing to support my channel, and also feel free to check out my written guide on my website and my Patreon page where I post exclusive non-Diablo content and share my thoughts. Thank you for watching and listening. Stay tuned for more videos. Have a nice day, stay safe, and I see you guys in the next season.